I'm an alien. I've landed on Earth. I happen to run into you. I need to know everything that's super important about living on this planet. You're my download person.
Oh gosh.
Top 5 life lessons in a minute.
That's a hot seat question.
Yeah.
Number 1, joy is not what you think it is.
Hmm.
2, this too shall pass. 3, cultivate more relationships. Number 4, the obvious one, we are all connected. We're all one. The sooner we realize that, the better we'll be. And number 5 is the big one, like none of this is real.
Let me tell you something. If I landed on planet Earth and I got slapped with those 5 life lessons, I would be better for it.